Okay.
Good evening, councillors and officers. Welcome to the Planning Committee on this day, the 20th of April. Let's start off with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
I haven't received any.
Apologies from Lawrence Plant, and I'm substituting.
Okay, thank you.
And Ian Clark he's here already, so Ian Clark's already here. So.
Yep, we can see Councillor Clark, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening on any item of the agenda? No, I see none. Let's move to the next item on the agenda then, which is number 3, minutes. And this is to approve the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 30th of March. Do I have a proposer as a correct record? Thank you. Councillor Gavashak, a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Arlett. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so now we come to the part of the agenda, item 4, which is where we have members of the public wanting to address councillors. First of all, we have Mr. Boddington. If you like, you can switch on your camera, but yeah, you're on mute. So if you wouldn't mind, in a moment, just let us know which application you're speaking to, and then you have 2 to 3 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's a Blandy Road application.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Neil Boddington. I'm a planning consultant, Boddington's Planning. I've been brought in by the applicant following your previous comments on this planning application, and we've spent quite a lot of time with the planning officer going through and making a number of amendments, I think in line with your comments. So hopefully we're getting very much closer to finding something that's satisfactory to yourselves. The planning officer has indicated that it is satisfactory to her, so hopefully we're very close. So I just wanted to quickly run through some of the points that we've changed. The hedge is staying. We've removed the Juliet balcony, which is a particular concern to yourselves. The rear windows have been changed and reduced to one single rear window. The side window overlooking the neighbour has been removed. The matter of the flue, which was previously commented on, is clearly laid out in regulations, building regulations regarding the height and the issuing of emissions. So we think we've resolved that in terms of the practical requirements of it. So it comes down, I think, to the neighbour's main objection is to the loss of daylight on his side window of his lounge, and I can't say that there won't be any, but it's a south-facing house that gets daylight from 6 o'clock in the morning through to, well, whatever time in the evening. So the BRE regulations on sunlight and daylight suggest that 3 hours a day is the sort of minimum requirement. So they're well in excess of that. And the 3-metre extension that my client is proposing is not excessive in terms of depth. It's just the slight orientation that very late in the day there may be some loss to this side window. But there is a large patio window to the rear that will obviously remain getting full daylight. So we think that the proximity to the the fence that's on the side boundary will also have an impact on this side window anyway. And therefore, we can't change it other than removing the extension, which we're obviously not inclined to do. So we think that the loss to the neighbour is in fact minimal, and we've done what we can with all the other smaller elements to come to a satisfactory solution, which we pray and aid to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boddington. May I just ask you to remain, just in case councillors have questions for you, just for a moment. Thank you. Councillors, any questions for Mr. Boddington? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Mr. Bollington, have you or your client been able to talk to the neighbour to try and mitigate some of the points? He's a very reasonable chap, but he put a number of points forward. And I just wonder whether you've had the chance to meet with him.
I haven't met with him, I have to say, but we have obviously been through all his representations in some depth, looking at each and every one of them to see what we consider to be valid and not valid. We've obviously made a number of changes that I think will go some way to meeting his original objections. And, I've made my point clear on the sunlight and daylight issue, where I don't think he's unduly losing out.
Any other questions, councillors? No, I see none. Many thanks, Mr. Boddington. You are welcome to stay with us until the end of the meeting, but if you wouldn't mind turning off your camera.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have Christy Parker, please. Christy Parker.
Oh, hi there. Sorry, Neil Boddington actually spoke on my behalf.
I see. So you're number 73.
I'm Blandy Road, yes.
Okay, fine. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think that was sufficient. Thank you.
Okay. Councillors, do you have any questions for Mrs. Parker? No. Okay. Many thanks. You're welcome to stay with us as well, if you wouldn't mind just turning off your camera. Thank you. And next we have Mr. Rain, Mr. Nick Rain. Mr. Nick Rain?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. Just trying to unmute myself.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
If you wouldn't mind just informing us of which application you're speaking to, and then you have 2 to 3 minutes whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. The application is reference P21/S1185. This is for an outbuilding at 18 St Andrews Road. My name is Nick Rain. My wife and I own Wayside in Vicarage Road. We have concerns both as owners of Wayside and as Henley residents. In respect of Wayside, the detached house is a 2 up, 2 down. I've sent Jodie photographs of this property. I don't know whether have you distributed them?
I did shortly before the meeting.
Thank you very much. Sorry about the late notice, but there are photographs of this property. One is the front view, from which you can see it's quite an unusual property for this locality, but in particular, it's only 1 room deep. And as can be seen from the second photograph, which was forwarded, which is the rear view photograph, it has no windows or doors at the rear. So as such, Wayside's entire aspect is towards the front and is highly susceptible to interference from the front. Now, despite this susceptibility, in normal circumstances, we wouldn't be overly concerned about a planning application for an outbuilding, even though the outbuilding will sit directly in front of Wayside. However, 3 months ago, I was sitting here asking you to consider recommending refusal of a planning application at the same property, at that time for a swimming pool. This was reference P20/S4891. Thankfully, following numerous objections from the town council, neighbours, as well as Southern Vales tree officer, the application was withdrawn. And perhaps if it wasn't for the swimming pool application, perhaps if the applicants hadn't planned to build the swimming pool pump house in exactly the same spot where they now propose to erect the outbuilding, perhaps had this swimming pool planning application been refused. It wasn't, it was withdrawn. We wouldn't be so concerned, but we do have concerns. Thus, given there's no specified use for the outbuilding, and given its shape and its size and window arrangement does not really lend itself to either a use as a shed or as an office. I don't know how you would get a bicycle in there or a lawnmower into an L-shaped building. The window arrangement doesn't seem to be appropriate for an office. The outbuilding perhaps would perfectly suit use as a pump house and changing room. So we do wonder if the developer's real intention is to secure planning for a non-generic outbuilding and then submit a revised swimming pool planning application at a later stage. A swimming pool pump house in this location with its sound and vibration echoing around would be completely unbearable at Wayside due to the property's susceptibility to interference from the front. As alluded to earlier, there are no rooms at the back of Wayside to which to retreat because there are no back rooms. It's not possible to close windows at the front and open windows at the back because there are no windows at the back. In short, Wayside's amenity would be considerably impaired. Just looking at more general aspects here, and thank you for your time. From the point of view of the conservation area, the wooded garden at 18 St Andrews Road is in a prominent location at the entrance to this part of the conservation area. And as neighbours and as Henley residents, we have concerns that the outbuilding is to be built too close to the substantial horse chestnuts within the garden, the very trees which help to define the character of the conservation area. I should point out that the forestry officer has already expressed his objection given the impact of the outbuilding on these substantial horse chestnut trees. Finally, a point about visual intrusion. Thus, we have concerns it's simply not possible to tell from the application drawings the extent to which the building will protrude above the garden wall. There is no context plan provided. It seems quite possible at the back end of the building, and it is only a prefab, will appear unnecessarily intrusive from outside. Given the impact on the trees and the likely visual intrusion, it's difficult to see how the development will meet the test of conserving and enhancing the conservation area. In the light of all these arguments, we'll be grateful if the council could recommend refusal. If you're not persuaded that a refusal is appropriate, we would ask if you could request SODC to attach a condition to ensure that the building is not used to house equipment, for instance, mechanical, electrical or otherwise, whose sound and or vibration can be detected beyond the confines of the application site. Thank you,
Mr. Rain. Thank you.
Sorry to withdraw.
Questions? Councillor Gavashak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rain, for your very cogent comments. I just want to pick up two things that you may have local knowledge of, and you've alluded to one of them already. So, do you know what the height of this shed is or outbuilding? I'll start with that first.
Do you want me to answer that question now?
Yes, please.
Right. I think you can tell from the drawings the height of the building. The issue is perhaps that it doesn't tell you, it simply says that it's going to be built off a base occupying the existing base of the sheds which are on the site at the moment. And as such, it's not possible to tell the total height it will be. Certainly it will extend to above the height of the garden wall, but by how much it's not possible to tell.
Okay, and a supplementary to that, and then I have one further question on that, and that's it. How does this outbuilding impact on you as the neighbour?
As the neighbour, it potentially won't impact if it is used as an office, as a garden shed. However, if it is for want of a better term, a Trojan horse, and it becomes the site of a pump house, it would become unbearable in our property, which sits immediately behind the outbuilding.
Okay, and my third question, apologies, Chair, you've already alluded to, and in fact, it's in the forestry officer's report that I won't prejudge my decision, but the forestry officer indicating that the plan is not acceptable because there is no detail about damaging the roots of these wonderful trees that are in the back garden. I presume you would agree with the forestry officer's report.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? No, I see none. Many thanks, Mr. Rain. You're welcome to stay with us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes item 4 on the agenda, the public participation section. And next we have an item on listed building consent applications. And this is going to be given by our planning officer, Jodie Rhymes.
Thank you. So I refer to an email sent from a planning officer at SODC who has requested that we separate out our comments to planning permission applications and those for listed building consents where they apply to the same site. He has suggested that we need to ensure that our response to listed building consents only consider the impact on the heritage asset and the setting, and they don't want to see the same comments replicated from the planning application response. I've considered these comments and advice from Historic England, which states that applications for listed building consent for part or whole of the same works as those covered by a planning application should be applied and considered together. So in large part, the same heritage considerations will apply to planning applications as well. Also, the National Planning Policy Framework doesn't distinguish between the type of application being made. I therefore suggest, in light of the email, that when discussing applications for solely listed building consent, where they don't have an associated planning application, we need to ensure that our response is directly about the impact on the listed building and its setting. So other considerations such as impact on neighbouring amenity shouldn't be included within that. But I do not consider this necessary for sites where we are considering both listed building and planning application comments at the same time. So a couple of examples when we go on to them will be for the same site, and I don't think it's necessary to separate out our comments at that stage. I've tried to get in contact with SODC to discuss this further, but I haven't had a response yet. So I'll update the committee next time. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Jodie. Councillors, do you have any questions? No, okay, and we will get in contact with the members of the committee, like Councillor Plant, for instance, who can't be with us this evening, to inform him as well. Okay, thank you very much for that. Let's move on then to item 6, which is plans amended. Now, I just wanted to inform councillors that we are in a situation where, because of the 8 days mourning that we had, which finished on Monday morning or midnight on Sunday, that we needed 3 clear days to advertise this meeting. And of course, we couldn't provide that because it hasn't been the 3 days, and this agenda was issued last week. So everything this evening that we discuss and make observations on are going to be recommendations to the full council meeting. Okay, so just for ease, I will be using the same language, but every single observation minuted will be recommendations. Is that clear? Do you have any questions for Kath or Jodie? No? Okay, thank you. Let's move on then. Right, so plans amended. The first item we have is P21 SO562, and it's a householder application, amended application. And Jodie, would you introduce this one?
Yeah, so this has already been spoken about from the planning agent that went through quite a lot of the amendments on that proposal. So I consider that this has gone some way to address the concerns raised previously. The proposed rear dormers have been reduced, the 2 first floor windows and 1 on the east elevation have been removed, and also the balcony has been changed to a standard window. In relation to the impact on local character, I note that the roof material has changed from zinc to concrete tiles, the chimneys being retained, and the hedge at the front will make sure that it's more in keeping with the local character. And note that the applicant intends to plant new landscaping at the front. This could be controlled by condition. The SODC planning officer considers this to be acceptable and now complies with the local plan policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Arlett, do you have a proposal?
Yes, Chairman. The neighbour has been in touch with me, and he's gone through every point that's been mentioned by the the applicant agent, and they are more than happy to accept the changes. So I would propose that we approve this application.
Many thanks. Is that seconded, Councillor Gavashak?
Yeah, just a quick comment. Yes, thank you to the applicants and also the Mr. Boddington for listening and making the changes. Yeah, well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? No, I see none. So all those in favour of acceptance, please raise your hands. Thank you, that's carried. So next on the agenda is P21 SO722. It's a householder application and it's Harkham House for Lambridge Wood Road. Jodie.
So this was recommended for approval last time, so would say that that would still stand. Thank you.
Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
I think it might be worth actually saying to Chrissy Parker and Neil Boddington that they might not want to continue attending the meeting if they wish.
Oh, why not?
We won't be offended, but they can stay if they want. Yes, I propose acceptance of this. It's acceptable, so fine.
Thank you. Are you seconding, Councillor Hamilton?
Yeah, I'm seconding it. It's people need outside working space. It's totally acceptable.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? That's carried, thank you. Okay, let's move on to agenda item 7 on page 13, and this is plans new. First of all, we have P21 SO893. It's a householder application for 22 Vicarage Road. Jodie.
So this site has already got consent for a loft conversion under a previous planning application, although the proposal is a slightly larger. I do consider this acceptable in principle. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Any proposals? Councillor Gavashak.
Propose acceptance.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of acceptance? Thank you, that's carried. Next on the agenda is P21 SO962, and it's a full application for the landing place, Mill Lane. Jodie.
So I'm concerned with the lack of information that's been submitted to support this application. I note that the forestry officer has a holding objection and the countryside officer has requested further arboricultural information and a tree survey. They've also asked the applicant to consider alternative green engineering options, including gabions and more natural banks, which would give biodiversity benefits. So I've also got concerns over the closeness to the mature trees and the potential for root damage. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors. Yes, Councillor Hamilton, you have a proposal.
Well, in principle, I'm in favour of this landing site, as long as it was done properly and subject to the extra information coming from the horticultural regarding the trees. It's actually, it's a private house at the end of Mill Lane, and I'm, subject also to the EA. I think we should accept it. Would be my view.
Okay, so sorry, I'm a bit confused. So approval, but with conditions on receipt of further information.
To note approval with subject to further information on the trees and from the EA.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
I'm sorry, with respect, I won't be supporting this thing. I think it's the wrong way around. The countryside officer and the forestry officer flagged up real concerns about the design and the implementation of proposed green solutions. So therefore, I think that we should actually do it the other way around. We should refuse it. and then the applicant comes back with a better solution that's acceptable to the forestry officer and the countryside officer. So I'm sorry, I will not be supporting this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, councillors, would any other councillor like to speak before we put this to the vote? Because it has been seconded, this motion, this recommendation, I should say. No. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval with conditions, please raise your hands. Okay, and against? Okay, that's fallen. Thank you. An alternative proposal? Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
Can I do understand that these things are finely nuanced, so that's what it is. So stop rambling, Gavishak, and get on with it. I propose we refuse it, but we also in the notes ask that the forestry officer follows this up, the countryside officer follows this up, and the applicant actually engages with both of them to actually come up with an acceptable solution that we will then pass at the next meeting. So
Okay.
refusal at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Romans. All those in favour? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is P21 S1015. It's a householder application and it's for St Mark's Road. Jodie.
So some attempt has been made to ensure that this is sympathetic to the host building. The side and rear extensions have been stepped down from the main ridge line. I do have concerns over the scale and massing of the proposed rear element and the impact this could have on the neighbouring properties. I do note that it's on a similar footprint to the existing rear extensions, and the number 2 St Mark's Road has a 2-storey extension to the rear. The plans illustrate that the side windows facing number 2 would be obscure glazed and fixed shut. However, this isn't the case for those on the western elevation facing number 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Crook.
Recommend refusal.
Reasons?
I'm concerned for neighbour and impact on neighbours and neighbourly. And they've also got an Oriel window, which is one of those great big windows that like jut out. That
Like a picture window.
It's too big.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? No, it's not been seconded. Okay, so councillors, a proposal, please. Yes, Councillor Gavishak.
I'm just waiting for somebody else. I don't want to hog the light. I don't want to hog the limelight all the time, but I propose acceptance of this.
Hello, Councillor Arlett's having a rest this evening.
Anyway, I propose acceptance of this. Thank you.
Okay, is that seconded? Councillor Hamilton, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Probably not, but just in case. No, okay. All those in favour of approval, please raise your hands. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is P21 S1055, and it's a householder application, and it's 24 Queen Street. Jodie.
So this falls within the conservation area. It is already heavily extended. They're proposing to use lead-clad dormer to the rear and 2 conservation-style roof lights. So I don't have any issue with that in principle. Do have some concern over the removal of the chimney stack, and the single-storey extension could have some adverse impact on the neighbouring occupiers through loss of light and outlook. The proposed rear extension, in my opinion, wouldn't have an adverse impact on the character and appearance of the surrounding area. There's a range of these similar extensions along Queen Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I'll propose refusal on this. I think it's out of character, unneighbourly. That's an extension to an extension. And I'm likewise with dormers, I prefer to see a pitch dormer rather than a flat one. So yeah, it's just an overdevelopment of the site and a neighbourly. So I propose refusal.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Hamilton, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No. Okay, let's put this to the vote then. The recommendation is for refusal. It's been seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda we have 10 Hop Gardens P21 S1063, and it's a listed building application. Jodie.
I don't have any objections. It's positive to see timber windows being proposed.
Thank you. Councillors? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
Proposed acceptance. I'm very pleased that they're using timber and they're doing it very nicely.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Clark. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you. That's carried. Next we have P21 S1066, another listed building application, and it's for 5 Wharf Lane. Jodie.
So they're proposing double glazed / windows on the front elevation, and to the rear they're proposing timber windows with double glazing. There is still plastic being proposed, so I've got concerns over that, but it would be subject to the acceptance of the Conservation Officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any proposals, councillors? Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
When I looked at the plans, I saw they were using wooden windows at the front, and I was happy about that, using timber. And I propose acceptance subject to the Conservation Officer.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Yes, Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of acceptance? Thank you, that's carried. And next we have P21 S1079. It's a full application and it's 265 Grays Road. Jodie.
So the principle of a replacement dwelling is acceptable. It's roughly on the same footprint of the existing dwelling, but the scale and overall massing has increased. There are limited windows proposed on each side elevation to reduce overlooking onto neighbours, but will still have impact on their amenity. It is a reasonably large plot, and there are similar examples of this type along Grays Road. I note that there's no objection from the Highways Authority.
Thank you. Councillor Gavishak, you have a proposal.
Well, on this one, I'm going to propose acceptance. I think it's a large plot. Yeah, it's a nice design. It does increase it a bit, but I think we should be really grateful that, in fact, we're not being subjected to 3 homes on this site. So actually, a like-for-like replacement, 1-for-1, is actually a real bonus, and not even having a semi-detached or 2 dwellings on this site, which has been the norm, down Grays Road recently on a couple of sites. So I'll just leave it at that. So anyway, I propose acceptance of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I second it, if I may. I just asked Councillor Gavishak to add that the garage shouldn't be converted. So that was one of the things from the highways. And it's policy 3303 and policy 3507, which is regarding the turning circle of vehicles going in and out of there. We should ensure that's included.
Councillor Gavishak.
Yeah, okay, I'll accept that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's been accepted by Councillor Gavishak, the proposer. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of acceptance with conditions? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's turn over the page. Please, we have page 14 now, and we have P21 S1102. It's a householder application, and it's for 16 Manor Road. Jodie.
So this site is not within the conservation area and it's not a listed building. It's single story and there's a mix of house types within this area. I don't consider that the proposal would have an overly adverse impact on the character of the area or the neighbouring property's amenity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jodie. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
I'm going to propose acceptance, but I would like a comment added that, and I couldn't find it on the plan. So anyway, I propose acceptance. Right. On one of the neighbours' comments, they were concerned about a side window that would overlook their open plan kitchen. But actually on the plans, I couldn't find the side window. I looked very, very hard. So I'm going to propose, I might have missed it. I'm going to propose acceptance subject to any side window that has potential to overlook the neighbouring property is removed. So that's my proposal.
Thank you. Is that
Can I
seconded?
ask a question there, Madam Chairman?
Yes, Councillor Clark.
Can that glass be defrosted if they need it for the light coming into the building instead of not having a window?
Councillor Gavashak.
I would like any side windows that look over people's property, especially into open plan kitchens. I would propose that they are removed.
Thank you. Okay, would any other councillor like to, have we got a seconder? Being Councillor Clark, are you still happy to second? Councillor Clark?
Yes.
Are you still happy to second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval, subject to not having the window on the side. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, next we have P21 S1161. It's a full application and it's Sean Dickens at the Boathouse, Station Road. I was slightly confused with this one. I don't know if other councillors were. Jodie, can you help us out? There seemed to be some kind of decision made already.
Yeah, so they've already got permission to serve alcohol between 6 and 9, drinks only. And this is just to allow them to serve food as well between those times.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Crook was first.
Can I speak on this?
Okay, yeah, we don't have to put a proposal in. If you just prefer to speak first, that's fine.
It's nowhere on the plans does it say about them putting side chairs down on that bend, which I think is dangerous because only a couple of months ago there was a vehicle that leapt over the curb. And
Councillor Arlett can help with this because Councillor Arlett is district, as you know. Councillor Arlett.
Just a point of order. SODC have given permission for the tables and chairs to go there. I did object to it, but they've given permission. So there's nothing we can do about that. But I totally agree with what Councillor Crook's saying. It's just so dangerous, but they have given permission.
And also, it's a slippery slope of turning into a bar. So you will have the noise impact for neighbours and they'll have to put up with all the night, especially with those tables and chairs on the corner. The people living opposite will have even more impact noise put upon them. And also like taxis picking people up. And also like I have concerns with that awning. Is it the awning, the overbearing awning they want to shut out as well? Yeah, just...
Okay, so you've got concerns. Let's have Councillor Hamilton and then Councillor Gavashak.
I hear the concerns, but on this one, I think we should propose acceptance. We need to do everything we can to support this business, and I'm sure they'll use the seating at the front of the building first before they use the seating at the side of the building. The awning, I think, will look quite nice. I propose we note acceptance to do a.
Councillor Gavashak.
Yeah, I'll happily second that. They can already drink on it till 9 o'clock at night. So actually serving food could well have a calming effect on noise and intrusion. So therefore, I think serving food is acceptable. My worry on this application is that there were no neighbour comments at all. It was
There was
a
one.
whole list. Yeah, a whole list of
Yeah.
people who've been
Interesting. Yeah.
whatever. So
The
I'm
one
sorry
comment.
that you've obviously spotted, Michelle. But anyway, I'm happy to second it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Arlett, would you like to speak before we put this to the vote?
Yes, Chairman. I was one of the ones that supported the original application for the seats outside for the use of dining. But I totally agree with Councillor Crook here. You know, if we're just going to have people drinking outside, I think drinking will be a lot noisier than people just sitting down having a meal and drinking. And for that reason, I'm not going to support the application either. On that reason. For the concern of the noise it could generate around that area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Miranda. I'm just concerned about eating out food and that. Where was the waste bin going to take all this stuff and be dispatched?
Well, I presume they've already got a food service, haven't they, in this restaurant? So they'll be well attuned to dealing with their waste. Councillor, as we're all having a go at chatting about this, Councillor Romans, did you want to add anything?
I don't have anything else to add, really. Nothing that would add any value.
Okay, Jodie.
I just wanted to say that it has already got permission between 6 and 9 for drinks only. So this is just the addition of allowing them to eat as well.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Is that clear to everybody?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's put this to the vote. We've got a proposal for acceptance. It's been seconded. So let's have a vote on it. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, let's move on to P21 S1185. It's a householder application and it's for 18 St Andrews Road. Jodie.
So yeah, there was a previous planning application for the installation of the swimming pool and the pump house, which was withdrawn in February. We recommended refusal due to impact on amenity and the damage to roots of the trees within the conservation area. The proposed outbuilding for this application would be located in the same northern corner. The applicant has submitted limited arboricultural information, and the forestry officer has stated that they consider the proposal could have a harm on the roots and branches of the adjacent protected trees. So they've requested further information.
Thank you. Councillor Gavashak.
Well, I'm going to propose a refusal of this. People are entitled to have outbuilding and sheds in their back garden, but the detail of height, we don't know. And certainly the forestry officer has come down very, very strongly that there is not enough information that will allow this building to be developed or to be installed without information about the tree roots. I mean, it could well be that we pass this planning application and the existing foundation is grubbed up and then dug down for a substantial building and it will damage the tree roots. So I propose refusal on the grounds that there's not enough information on height of building and also the comments by the forestry officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Crook, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Arlett.
Yes, Chairman. We can only discuss the application that's in front of us. And we were told by the objector that there was already a concrete base there, or that's what it came over to me. So if the roots are damaged, they'd already be damaged. It wouldn't be the shed that's going to damage these. So I won't support the proposal for refusal, and if that goes down, I will put a proposal for approval with conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Gavashak.
Well, if no one's going to speak, I will just sum up on my proposal. Well, I would urge councillors to accept my proposal. I think the forestry officer has been very, very clear that there's not enough arboricultural information. Oh, I said it right. Arboricultural information. And I really don't think it would be responsible to actually pass this planning application without that information. So anyway, we'll wait for the committee to decide. Thanks.
Okay, the only point I'd like to make is that we don't have a height for this building. So it would seem to me that this is, oh, Mr. Rain, would you mind turning your camera off? Sorry.
Sorry, am I able just to clarify a point I made earlier?
Unfortunately not, no. The public
I think
participation
I've
section
misled
is-
about the base, because the base isn't in the place.
Mr.
isn't-
Rain, you were told no, you couldn't speak. Thank you.
I beg
Sorry.
your pardon. I'll leave.
I know it is
Sorry about that.
confusing sometimes, isn't it? Okay, right. Well, listen, what I was going to say was that we don't have a height for this building. That's all I was going to add. That's right, isn't it, Jodie? We don't have a height for the building. That's not been established.
They are on the plans. It's just you would need a scale ruler to be able to. They are on there, but we could specify that in our recommendation.
Thank you. All right. Well, listen. Let's put this to the vote then. We have a proposal for refusal. It's been seconded. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Right, let's move on then to P21 S1195, and it's a householder application, and it's 6 Lords Close. Jodie.
So this is a proposal for a front extension and part conversion of the garage, recladding of the dormer. And there's little design merit in the proposed front extension, but it's not within the conservation area or a listed building. There's a mix of house types within this area, so I don't have any overriding objections.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Crook?
Propose acceptance.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Gavashak, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of acceptance? Thank you, that's carried. Yeah, thank you. And the next one is P21 S1252. It's a householder application and it's 92 Vicarage Road. Jodie.
So this site has already got planning permission for side and rear double storey extension and a front porch, but it hasn't been implemented. So this is a new proposal, which is smaller and therefore acceptable in principle.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Councillor Crook?
Acceptance.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Yes.
Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of acceptance? Thank you, that's carried. Next is now, Jodie, I'm going to take these together, these next two, as per your discussion earlier. Okay, so that's P21 S1262, and it's a householder application, and P21 S1263, which is a listed building application for 9 Norman Avenue. Jodie.
So this is a grade 2 listed building within the conservation area. It does already have planning permission for a rear extension, which was approved last year, but there has been change to the design and the size of it. So it is larger in scale. So I do have some concerns over the increased impact on the heritage asset.
Thank you. Any proposals, councillors? Councillor Gavashak?
I propose acceptance of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Hamilton, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Arlott?
Yeah, I'm going to speak against this, Chairman. It's another one, extension on extension, and it's much higher. I'm sure when Charles Clement built these houses, he didn't envisage extension after extension going on to his houses. But I just think it's totally unneighbourly, out of character, and does absolutely nothing for me whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, okay, let's put this to the vote then. All those in favour of approval? And all those against? Okay, thank you, that's fallen. We have another proposal. Yes, councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I propose that it's unneighbourly, out of character, the bulk and the size, and I think that's sufficient for refusal, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Clark, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried.
That's for both
Okay.
of the applications.
Nice of you to join us, Town Clerk. Good to see you. Okay, so we have the last item on this part of the agenda is P21 S1284, and it's a householder application, 104 St Andrews Road. Jodie.
So I didn't have any overall objections to this proposal. My only point was to do with the erection of a detached double garage, and suggest that this could be controlled by condition to ensure it's used for that purpose. I could also raise the concerns over potential loss of trees.
Thank you. Councillors, any proposals? Yes, Councillor Arlett.
Yeah, I'm going to propose approval, Chairman. When I first read the first line of the application before I looked at it, I was going to recommend refusal, and then I saw they're going to build a detached double garage, so that changed my mind. So yeah, so I've got no other reason, so I propose approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Councillor Gavishak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, all those in favour of acceptance? Against? Okay, that's carried, thank you. Right, so let's move on to the next part of the agenda, please.
Chairman, may I bring something up, please?
It depends what it is. Is it relating to the agenda? Any
Yes,
items on
yeah,
the
it's related to the
agenda?
agenda. All these applications that get passed, could this committee stipulate that they put solar panel windows on the extensions
panel
to help with
windows?
global warming?
Sorry, solar panel windows.
Solar panels,
Oh, solar panels.
yeah, to help with the global warming. Can we stipulate that on the applicants?
If it's not part of the law, then no, we can't. Is a short answer to that.
Okay, fine. I just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Right, so let's move on to the last parts of the agenda. We've got 8, which is objections, call-in applications. Just to note those. Do we have any updates? No, I don't think so, do we? No. Okay. And the last one is number 9, decision notices. Just to note those.
Everybody's watching you.
Okay, and number 10, just to note withdrawn planning applications. Just to note those. Thank you. And number 11, permitted development applications. Any? No, nothing to note there. Thank you. And then number 12, progress report for applications called in. Any updates there? Councillor Arlett, did you want to update us on
No, I'll just make one comment. The problem arises, there are a number of these applications are due for site visits, but dare I say, because of COVID-19, they can't arrange them because some of them need to enter other properties. And until that's resolved, like we've got one at 16 Reading Road, which must be over 6 months old now, but they obviously need to get into other properties to view where it will go. So
yeah,
that's the reason the list is getting longer and longer. Otherwise, there's, like the next meeting for the planning committee at SODC has been withdrawn because there's insufficient applications going forward. So it's just a matter of, once COVID-19 is complete and we can do the site visits, we obviously will do.
Yeah,
But
okay,
nothing
thank
else
you
to
for
add.
that. Thank you for that update, Councillor Arlett. Okay, and the last item on the agenda, which is 13, the progress reports on page 21. Jodie, any updates that you know, that you're aware of? Kath, any updates you're aware of?
The Balmahar hearing is due to start next week on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Myself and Councillor Gaveshat will be attending.
What's the location for that?
It's virtual. It's virtual.
Oh, it is virtual.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the meeting of the planning agenda. Many thanks for your attendance and for your contributions.